veil has been lifted and you're just in time for the Thursday night KUTV Prime Time News. We get the show on the road with the highlight of tonight's top stories.
From the Youth Connect Africa Summit in Kigali, Rwanda, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua challenges the African youth to take up leadership roles. Director of Public Prosecution Nordin Haji slammed for withdrawing major corruption cases against top officials. The Senate heats up with debate to sanction 4 IEBC commissioners who disowned the 2022 presidential results. Innovative students mark their impact in managing the waste menace in the nation and make a dime.
A warm welcome to the broadcast that is also streaming live on our social media handles on Facebook at KUTV Kenya and KUTV Kenya on YouTube. My name is EMMANUEL KUTOSI. Let's get the show on the road. The Thursday night KUTV Primetime News begins now. President William Ruto earlier today at State House, Nairobi, received credentials from newly appointed ambassadors of Turkey, Subutai Yüksel, Italy's Dr. Roberto Natali, India's Namgya Kampa, and France's Ananod Suket. The head of state said Kenya was keen on furthering diplomatic ties with the countries for the better benefit of the people of Kenya. The president further noted that the development underscored Kenya's commitment to working with all its allies, furthering global prosperity. Also, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has challenged the youth of Africa to take up leadership roles so that they can drive Africa's socio-economic development. The DP said the youth should be the drivers of Africa's march into the future. He was speaking when he delivered a keynote address at the Youth Connect Africa Summit that is underway in Kigali, Rwanda. The annual event, which has attracted 9,000 youth to Kigali this year alone, will be hosted in Nairobi in 2023.
You have what it takes to take this continent to the next level. I want to urge the youth of Africa to take your rightful role and dictate the path of development in this continent that was in a derogatory manner referred many decades ago as a sleeping giant. You have the motivation. All that remains is for you to occupy your space and do what must be done.
Africa is not a continent of problems, not at all. Whatever your purpose, do not get discouraged by doubts.
Now closer home, the decision by the Office of Director of Public Prosecutions to withdraw graft charges against government officials has been criticized by different organizations, including the Law Society of Kenya. LSK wants DPP Nordin Haji to give reasons for withdrawing graft charges against the suspects as they ask the court to demand for credible reasons from the DPP before approving the dropping of the charges.
The the second day, the Director of Public Prosecutions, Nurdin Haji, has continued receiving criticism from various organizations following his decision of withdrawing graft charges for some government officials. The Law Society of Kenya, through its president Eric Deuri, has come out boldly asking the DPP to publicly reveal reason for discontinuation of withdrawing graft cases. While addressing the press in the society's headquarters, Deuri has said, as I quote, "We have in the recent past witnessed events that pose great danger to administration of justice. The DPP must have the interests of the people and avoid interference." End of quote. His sentiments have been echoed by the Kenya Human Rights Commission, which has expressed concerns over the recent withdrawal of several high-profile cases by the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. As I quote, "Although the government has touted its commitment to tackling corruption, we are baffled by the spate of coordinated withdrawals of high-value graft cases by the DPP. The DPP owe Kenyans an explanation over the sudden surge in the withdrawal of graft cases." End of quote. Although there has been rifts in parliament where the Azimio coalition has asked Nurdin Haji to appear before parliament to explain why he withdrew the graft charges facing some government officials, on the other hand, the Kenya Kwanza coalition through Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei has defended Haji, saying, as I quote, "If the DPP has looked at the file and assessed it and it does not meet the standard that can go to court, then the DPP has the right to withdraw the case." End of quote. The opposition aroused after Haji withdrew all the graft charges facing the former member of parliament for Malindi Aisha Jumwa, Mithika Linturi, Ben Chumo, as he has already filed a petition to court for the withdrawal of 80 million Kenyan shilling graft charges against former Samburu Governor Moses Lennon Kulal. Haji has defended his part, citing the evidence provided against the accused were inadequate. This comes after the President William Ruto declared war on corruption in the government. Shadrack Smiu, KUTV.
All right, moving on forward. Division now, following her nomination to the cabinet, Aisha Jumwa, former Malindi MP, has received support from women-led lobbying organization Amkeni Coast Movement. At the same time, Jumwa has received criticism, particularly from lawmakers allied to the Azimio coalition, with some terming her nomination a big joke.
At the end of September, President William Ruto appointed Aisha Jumwa to the position of CS for Public Service and Gender. Jumwa had been accused in court for both a 19 million shilling bribery case and a murder charge prior to her appointment. However, the 19 million shilling graft case was dropped by the Director of Public Prosecution on Wednesday morning. On a UDA party ticket supported by the President, the former Malindi legislator ran unsuccessfully for the position of Kilifi Governor in the recent general election on August 8th. Her appointment is seen by political analysts as a reward for supporting the President. The group, led by Farida Rashid, pleaded with lawmakers who disagree with Jumwa to respect coastal residents and leave her alone. Announcing Jumwa's appointment to the cabinet and giving former Kilifi Governor Amason Kingi the position of Senate Speaker, Rashid also praised the President for honoring his commitment to the coastal population.
Kumzia ni kuhusu huyu ndugu yetu Aisha Jumwa. Tunataka kuambia hawa watu wanamkajeli Aisha Jumwa wawachane na Aisha Jumwa, kwa sababu Aisha Jumwa si wao ndio waliompa hicho cheo, wala si wao ndio waliotaka apate hicho cheo. Hichi cheo amepana kwa ajili ya Mwenyezi Mungu na sababu zake.
She expressed hope that when interviews for senior secretaries for various ministries continue, more positions for residents of the coast will follow. On political platforms, Margaret Ambassa slammed those who discussed legal issues before the courts, accusing them of disrespecting the constitution.
Na tunamsifu rais wetu kwa kutuwekea Aisha Jumwa. Na tunamsifu rais wetu kwa uchaguzi wake wa kuchagua. Na tunamwambia tunamwomba na tuna haki ya kuomba. Sisi ni tulimpigia kura na sisi ndio watu wa pwani wa Mombasa zaidi tulitoa kura zetu nyingi kwa president. Kwa hivyo na kuomba rais wangu usitusahau sisi kina mama wa Mombasa hapa.
To make sure that the area is not left behind by the current administration, she urged coast leaders to band together and defend one of their own. For KUTV, I am Susan Wayaki.
Division erupted between Kenya Kwanza and Azimio coalition senators in the Senate today following a motion which was tabled for discussion requiring 4 IEBC commissioners led by the Vice Chairperson Juliana Cherera, Francis Wanderi, Irene Masit and Justice Nyang'aya to be sanctioned for disowning the presidential results which were announced by the Commission Chair Wafula Chebukati.
This is until prior the announcement.
A heated debate was witnessed between senators of Kenya Kwanza and those of the Azimio, following a motion which was tabled for debate by Nyandarua Senator John Medhu, requiring the 4 commissioners who include Vice Chairperson Juliana Cherera, Justice Nyang'aya, Irene Masit and Francis Wanderi to be sanctioned for disowning the presidential results.
Okay. Now that I'm seated, I think you are not seeing my orders.
Kenya Kwanza senators led by Senator Medhu claimed that their action was intentional and a conspiracy to attack the decision and the will of Kenyans by trying to go against the responsibility of the IEBC and the oaths they took, hence raising questions regarding the legality of the presidential results and therefore legal action should be taken. Their counterparts on the other hand stating that the 4 are patriotic for standing with the truth and that they should not be removed from office before their term ends, as it will be against the constitution. The targeting of the 4 commissioners is also a sign of a complete change in the commission, considering that the chairman Wafula Chebukati is set to leave office in January after supervising 2 general elections. This comes even as the other commissioners are said to have sent a request to be principal secretaries, a sign that they will be also leaving the commission. Eugene Moyabi, KUTV.
Thank you, Eugene, for that report. Now, residents of Kasteni area in Nguni ward have pleaded with the county government of Kitui, led by their governor Julius Malombe, to come to their aid after their only nearby source of water dried up, forcing residents to trek for long distances just to get water.
Drought has struck many parts of Kitui County, including Mwingi, leaving numerous water sources empty and many people thirsty. Residents of Kasteni area in Nguni Ward, Mwingi Central constituency, have urged the county government of Kitui, led by their governor Dr. Julius Malombe, to come to their aid after their dam and the only nearby source of water dried up, forcing residents to trek for more than 10 miles in search of water. According to locals, it has been more than a month since the dam dried out and villagers, particularly women, are struggling to live because the adjacent Enzio River is more than 10 kilometers away.
Tunachotanga maji mahali mbali na nyumbani kwetu, around kilomita 15 kwenda kurudi ni masaa 8. Na ukiingia kwa nyumba unakuta watoto bado kwenda shule.
Local residents have appealed for fast action of delivering water to locals and desilting the dams before the upcoming rain season so that ample water may be accessed.
Ongezewe maji sehemu zingine kama sehemu inaitwa Kangarini, kuna mahali maji inaweza zuiwa tukapata maji, yani kaangaziwa, wengine wakipata karibu na wengine karibu, hiyo ya samani inasaidika, haiwezi kauka haraka.
Kenya is among countries in the Horn of Africa facing the worst drought in decades, occasioned by below average rainfall going into its 5th season. At least 10 counties have been affected by this menace. This comes as even the national government is rolling out measures to mitigate the consequences of the drought situation across the country. For KUTV, I am Teresia Maluki.
And from Kitui, we head to Narok County, where the governor, Patrick Ntutu, has flagged off medical supplies and medicine worth 90 million Kenyan shillings for the quarterly allocation to benefit all the health facilities in the county. The consignment purchased from the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority (KEMSA) will be distributed to the 93 dispensaries, 25 health centers, and 4 level 4 hospitals and 1 level 5 referral hospital in the county.
Narok County government has implemented measures to boost health services to Narok residents. While distributing the drugs at the Narok County Referral Hospital on Wednesday, Governor Ntutu said his administration had increased the allocation from 40 million shillings to 90 million shillings in a bid to benefit all the residents in the county. Governor Ole Ntutu stated that no patient will be required to purchase drugs from chemists as the drugs will be adequate in all the health facilities around the county.
Angazia wakaaji wa Narok, usikubali tena kuandikiwa dawa uende ununue kwa chemist ama kwa. Ukiambiwa hakuna dawa, waenda amana hapo ni kukuta hapo mimi mwenyewe. In
hospital referring patient, pharmaceutical stores will be taken as an action. On his part, Narok County Commissioner Isaac Masinde commended the governor for the good work, saying it will be a big relief to the patients who could not afford to buy medicine from private chemists and pharmacists.
Na wale ambao walikuwa labda wamezoea kununua madawa, because sisi kama security tunajua kuna wengine wananunua madawa ya serikali. This is the time for them to stop. Hata usifikirie kununua dawa ya serikali, because we are coming for you. Na county police commander yuko hapa, CSIO yuko hapa, tukijua wewe unanunua madawa ya serikali, ndio wananchi wakija hapa wanaambiwa enda kwa chemist fulani. That one must stop.
The county commissioner vowed to work with the county government to ensure that the drugs purchased do not fall to private chemists. Jeff Mwangi, KUTV.
Police in Solai, Nakuru County, have launched an investigation into a fire incident involving a teenage mother and her 4-week-old child whose bodies were retrieved from a burning house. Police officers, alerted by the area's sub-chief, got to the scene to facilitate the rescue, and upon reaching the scene, they found the house locked from inside. The officers resorted to breaking into the house, where they found the 2 bodies burnt beyond recognition. Preliminary reports, according to Nakuru County Police Boss Peter Mwanzo, point towards an unstable mindset by the young mother, presumably after being affected by her early pregnancy and the birth of a child, which affected her education. The 2 bodies have been transferred to Nakuru Level 5 Hospital mortuary, awaiting postmortem. Alright, and with that report from Nakuru County, we take our first break right here on KUTV Primetime News. Stay tuned, we'll be back with the day's discussion. You don't want to miss it. Stay tuned.
KUTV, in conjunction with Kenyatta University Funeral Home, is now offering death announcements immediately following our news bulletins at 7 p.m. At this sorrowful time, as you share in your grief, allow us to communicate your announcement of your loved one on KUTV in both Kiswahili and English. For more details, kindly inquire at the KU Funeral Home Service Desk or call 0736 928 380 or dial 020-359-9054.
Bila shaka, mbiu ya mgambo ikilia, kuna jambo. Na sasa, katika KUTV Rise Today, makala ya TBT. Tunaongeza kuni, tunawasha moto. Tunaingia barabarani kuangalia hali ilivyo. Takwimu za corona na kupa habari zinazojiri na zinazokuhusu na kujuza na kukumbusha yaliyotendeka siku kama hii ndani ya historia, kisha na kuletea wageni na wataalam tudadavui, tufahamu na tuchukue nafasi yetu kama vijana katika uongozi, uchumi na masuala ya kisiasa nchini. Na joto likizidi, tunaingia uwanjani, tunachambua spoti ya Kenya. Ni kila Alhamisi saa 1 hadi saa 4 asubuhi, nami Vincent Maina almaarufu Ojwang mtoto wa Mariam, ndani ya KUTV, a new experience.
Also to talk to us about the technicalities of DIN and how they do the operations is Mr. Peter Getao.
Our technology is very much portable. We use a device called EMMANUEL. This is an offline education server which is connected to a 1 terabyte hard disk. Within the 1 terabyte hard disk, we have content, and the EMMANUEL sends a Wi-Fi.
Hello, Jacob. Hello. Yeah, are you hearing me? Yeah, I'm finding a request to increase your headroom kidogo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, please. Okay.
Once again, slightly. The other way. Perfect. Wonderful.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Well, we are going live in a minute.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
An honor being the first girl to drive at that track.
I want to go all the way. I want hopefully to be one of the best in the world someday, but I want to take it day by day, to keep learning my lessons, to keep failing and keep succeeding.
Where is the problem from? And I want to submit that the problem is from the home. But if it is going to continue the way it is today, where you religiously preach to your child what is bad, but you perhaps unconsciously go and do the exact opposite. The child sees you with a guest who comes and you stay for 8 hours drinking alcohol. That is what has registered on the child. Are we parenting properly? It is the onus of the parents of the children to make sure that they practice what they preach.
All right. That is Professor George Magoha speaking there last year concerning the drug abuse cases among young children, and actually putting the blame seemingly on parents and their bringing of their children. Now, drug abuse is a serious issue, affecting all sections of the society irrespective of age, education, or economic status. The negative consequences of drug abuse affect not only individuals who abuse drugs, but also their families and friends and government resources as well. Now, of great concern is that there is a constant surge in drug abuse cases among the school-going children. However, this is preventable and can be successfully managed if all responsible citizens of our society provide their contribution. And the first link, of course, is parents. And from the National Authority for Campaigns Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse, NACADA, I'm joined by Jacob Aduda, a public education and advocacy officer, for a candid discussion about the positive parenting in regard to prevention of initiation to drugs and substance abuse among children and the society. Jacob?
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. We are glad to have you tonight.
Thank you.
And we're just going to jump straight into it. Last year, we had very worrying reports from the outgoing Education Cabinet Secretary, and also concerning the report that came out from NACADA, saying that at least around 17% among the young children, even 11-year-old children, had already engaged in alcohol abuse. We are looking from that point to now. How are matters currently?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Emmanuel. I can say NACADA does carry out surveys as part of its mandate. And we did carry out a survey between the year 2016 and 2018, both for primary and also secondary schools, children. And what came out is that the age of debut of drugs is the age of 10 years, between 10 and 11 years. Those are pupils who should be in grade 6. And what we can say is that things have not really changed. It did spike actually during the time of COVID, because most of the parents would go back home and drink alcohol at home to avoid the curfews that were being put in place. Now, we can say that most parents, they assume that their children are forever children. And one thing they always think, thinking that my child will do as I say, not do as I do. But to the contrary, the children will always do by studying what you do. And that's why you'll find even some young children try to copy what their parents are doing. Remember, if a parent or a parent's behavior is not going as per what he says, the children will choose what he does and carry on with his legacy of his bad deeds.
And about the positive parenting agenda, how are you forwarding this agenda across?
As NACADA, as an institution of the government mandated to coordinate the campaign against alcohol and drug abuse in the country, we are currently carrying out positive parenting lessons in various fora and also through different media. And one thing I can say is that so far we've reached hundreds of thousands of parents since we began it during the period of COVID, either through the print media or through the electronic media. One thing we have discovered that every human being is a social animal, and socialization begins at home. And if socialization begins at home, then it means that the first school that you are taught lessons of life is within the family. Now, if the family or the parents are not able to socialize a child well, then it even interferes even with the cognitive development of that child. And this is the reason why NACADA, we are partnering with different like-minded partners to reach out or to give out the information about positive parenting. And maybe somebody can ask, what is positive parenting? Because the difference between man and wild animals, let me use that term, or animals, other animals, is that men have been socialized to nurture their young ones to live in a certain way within certain social constructs, as opposed to animals. There is a difference between parenting and also giving birth. Every animal gives birth, but parenting is a different thing. And you have to have the right skills to be able to provide positive parenting for your child. And from the previous clip that you have seen, the education minister, Honorable Mr. Magoha, saying that we expect the children to do good while the parents are doing bad. Remember, if you have a child and you also have alcohol within your home, one thing is for sure, if the child can see you consuming alcohol or alcoholic beverages or smoking tobacco products, that child will do it even in your absence, because the children will always give you what you want to hear. So with positive parenting, we are trying to encourage some or inculcate culture that enables or ensures that parents are able to bring their young ones in the proper way. And maybe somebody can ask, what is this proper way? You'll find that even within the urban setup that we have here, how many parents spend more time with their children, or even 15 minutes with their children, or each of their children when they come home from work? I know people are pursuing their economic goals, especially in cities like Nairobi. But do we have time for the children? Do we have time to look at what they're doing? Do we have time to know their friends? Do we have time to know what they like or to listen to what they want to tell us? And you'll find that most parents, especially men, you'll find they spend less time with their children as opposed to spending more time with their peers in the workplace or in the various places of socializing.
Now, Jacob, you've said a lot about the parent actually being the influencer of the child in what they do in matters of drug abuse and also alcohol abuse specifically.
Yes.
Now,
yes.
There's a lot of like, the parent is being slapped right and all over the arena, but have you in your studies noted that there is perhaps an influence that comes about from the fact that we are in a digitized arena currently, such that it is not necessarily the parent who will be the main influencer of children, but rather there are other environments mostly extended outwards by the social media and the internet being in a way that is all over the place?
Okay. I'm sorry if I sound like I'm slapping the parent. I'm also a parent. Now, I want to say this. Once a parent, you'll always be a parent. Even you'll see those old people who are maybe 80 years old or 90 years old, and maybe their offsprings are 70 years old or 60 years old. They will still always refer those as their children. Now, parenting does not stop. Now, one thing is for sure. In the studies that we carried out for both primary and secondary schools, it was discovered that initiation to drug and substance use, a huge percentage happened at the home or in the home front, which means that the places that used to be safe for children are no longer safe for children. So that is the reason why we started now focusing on how can we improve the environment in the home for in social ways for children to grow up in a right manner. Now, parenting does not only entail providing physical needs of the child. It also helps you, as a parent, within a certain age group or within a certain period of time when the child is growing. There is a time the child depends on you entirely. But then there is now a time that the child starts growing up and discovering and even start having other role models apart from you, depending on the age group that we are addressing. Now, you find that if I'm only providing the physical needs, there is no way my child will grow up even if I'm giving him or her physical needs, but I'm not providing the emotional and social support that they need within that period or age that they need it more. So you find that we have different kinds of parenting. And you'll find that we have almost 5 types. But one thing is for sure, there is no clear manual for parenting, but there are principles and basic concepts that can help a parent to be able to bring their child in the right and proper way. There is a role that you play, but there is also the role that the child plays. Because remember, if at all I am an authoritative parent, I will be able to give the rules in my home, but I also allow the child to discuss with me why the rules are being put in place for him. So I give the child the leeway to be able to learn how to make a decision or decision making for himself or herself. And this, it has been discovered, that can help the child later on in life to stand on his own or her own when somebody approaches him or her with a bad behavior or he wants to introduce him or her to drugs. So that's one of the examples. Otherwise, I can say that, human beings are opposed to other people, even to things that go in the wild. Their behavior and culture is within the social constructs. So if we allow them without those, you'll find that they grow some weird behavior that can make them vulnerable later in life to get initiated to drug and substance use.
Now, Jacob, without a clear formula for parenting, yet you are advocating for positive parenting. Now, I'm going to ask you this. How are you coming about to bring this whole agenda of positive parenting in a way that is inclusive of the parent, rather so that they are able to understand what you are putting across? Because if there is no clear formula, how are you sure of how it's going to be accepted and rather by the parents themselves? Because literally, in not so many words, what you would be saying is that you are a bad parent. Now, how do you bring the parent to the fact that there is a way to walk out of this and rather try and better their children? How are you communicating this so that you have the required result?
Okay, thank you. The programs that we are doing, we have family-based drug prevention that we work together with religious institutions, and these are aimed religious institutions and also schools or learning institutions. These are aimed at sensitizing them. There's the part that you can do, but there's also the part that you leave the parent to choose for himself or herself what is good and best for their children. Now, we've developed, some of the curricula have been developed by the Colombo Plan and also International Society of Substance Use Prevention Professionals. And this we have modified them to fit into the situation that we have in our country in Kenya, such that we use the term evidence-based. When we talk of evidence-based, it means that the interventions by way of sensitization and programs that we have, they have been implemented elsewhere and have been proven over a long period of time to be able to have positive results. So we do work with schools, we do work with the religious institutions, whereby we sensitize both the parents and also the young ones. And we also do IEC materials that they can be able to access. And I can tell you there are even several religious institutions that we have capacity building on family-based drug prevention programs. So it's a matter of campaign, and by nature, NACADA is a campaign organization. It's only that our campaign is geared towards reducing initiation to drug and substance use within the country.
Now, Aduda, concerning the campaigns, in 2019, we had a report, a shocking one, that 4-year-olds were engaging in alcohol abuse, around 17%, according to your study. In 2020, we had the issue concerning COVID, and the statistics were not any promising. In 2021, 16.9% of primary schools were actually noted to have been using, or rather had already used, alcohol. We are into 2022. The remedies, or rather the programs that you've been initiating as an authority to try and reduce this whole situation of drug abuse among the young children, seemingly has been in a struggling formation. Why is this, and what is different about this positive parenting agenda?
Okay, I will not say we are struggling. I will not say the campaign is struggling. I would want you to look at it from our perspective. And one thing I can say is that the trend globally has been worsened by the lockdowns that we had in most countries. And as a result, you will find that drinking of alcohol or alcoholic beverages and consumption of other drugs spiked up because people are using the drugs either to cope with the stresses of lockdown or even other issues that came with the COVID pandemic. Now, I can say that it all is not lost. Because remember, during that time also, I think there was a spike even in banning of schools, and the drug use was linked to it, and Nakara, together with the Ministry of Education, developed guidelines for management of drug and substance use among students in basic learning institutions. So I can say we have not all is lost, or we are making progress. Remember, fighting or campaigning against alcohol and drug abuse is in two levels. There is what we call the supply suppression and also the demand reduction. So we do this in partnership with different government institutions and not only NACADA.
And rather speaking about the whole campaign and its motion moving forward, I'm going to ask as we finalize, what about street children? Do we consider them when we are running such campaigns? Because most of them actually don't have parents, but they are children. They are among the statistics that are worrying. What about them?
Okay, currently we may not have the statistics. I'm not aware of any statistics on the street dwellers or the street children or the street dwellers who are under 18 years. But one thing I can say is that we have some interventions, not necessarily for street children, but for out of school youth. Among them, maybe there's the street dwellers and the people like them who are not necessarily in school, but they belong to the category of youth and they require services like we do. And we have been able to carry out campaigns through sensitizations in different regions in the country, targeting that specific kind of people.
And well, back to a demographic that we can be able to look at, they are adult children who are, legally they can actually indulge in several of the drugs that are a cause of concern. Now, looking at the whole concept of positive parenting, is there a way such that the influence of the parent can be able to override the decisions perhaps of a student who's maybe in campus and is far from the parent? Is there a way that the application of positive parenting, even to a student or rather a child who's not necessarily under the bracket of 18 years, to be able to maybe shun even the various drugs that are available for indulgence?
Okay, once a young person goes to college or is in that bracket of college going, it means that in most cases they are not under the jurisdiction of their parents. Perhaps the child are far back in the village and now they require to be on their own, either in the hostels or in we have mushrooming hostels that even are outside the universities and colleges. Now, what we have done as an institution or as NACADA, we partner closely with the vocational and other training institutions, including the universities. We help them with capacity building, especially on screening and brief interventions, which can help in identifying students who might have such problems with consumption of drugs or other psychoactive substances, which otherwise can lead to health problems. That's the first part. Then there is the second part that I would say is that everybody, especially those young people, they need life skills. And there's one thing that we advocate through positive parenting is that somebody needs to be involved in the lives of their children. That's the first thing. When I say they need to be involved, how much time do they spend with them at an early age before they reach another age of whereby they start discovering their independence. Then secondly, you need to have a structured relationship with your child or with your youth or your teenager. You need to set routines and rules in your home. At what time are they coming home? Do you know their girlfriends or boyfriends? Do you know what they like? Do you even talk with them? Because through that you'll be able to know the kind of friends they have, the parents of their friends. And through this you can pick up some funny behaviors that they might have that can lead otherwise to issues of drug initiation or consumption. Then you also need to enhance communication with them. Do you listen to them? Because there are some things that if you don't teach your person or you don't teach your child at an early age, when it reaches the age when they are now discovering new friends and new partners and new types of life, it will be too late for you. But it has been discovered that if I start teaching my children about drugs and even other the dangers of drugs and even early engagement in premarital sex, even if they don't want to listen to it, later on in life they'll appreciate it. Remember, when you're talking to your child or you are talking to a young person, they might look like they're rude or they think that you are old school. But at the back of their mind, they'll always treasure whatever you tell them. Even if at that time you are pointing it to them, it looks like you are an old school person.
Okay, Aduda, thank you. And actually, perhaps you can even tell us how far you are in the campaign as we finalize this discussion, and also you can be able to make your parting shot in this moment.
Okay. The campaign is still, I always do say that every single day that we make progress, we discover that we are still have a very long way off from reaching our goals. And I believe that this campaign does not only require NACADA, we require each and every partner that needs to come in and be able to work together with us hand in hand to enhance prevention of initiation to drug and substance use within our country. In NACADA, we welcome every partner, every individual to come and work together with us in this. And one thing I can say is that our services are free, it's paid for by the government. We can be reached through our website. You will find the contacts of our regional offices throughout the country, and we can be able to come and visit you and as an organization, talk with the members of your institution, be it a church, be it a mosque, be it a school, a college, any other gathering that we can get to be able to speak to people. You are welcome. You will not pay for any service like that. We'll be there to serve you and also to be able to talk to you. And it is a campaign, as I've said, we require everybody to be on board so that our nation will be a drug-free place.
Okay, thank you very much, Jacob Aduda, and for utilizing this platform quite well in bringing us up to speed concerning positive parenting.
Thank you very much.
Glad to have you. There we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Positive parenting, an inclusive, positive intervention to be able to assail the drug abuse menace that is looking at our children, and also as parents a way of actually being connected with your children. We take a short break right here on KUTV Primetime News. We have more for you in store. Stay tuned.